All right, so redox is really simple. The basic concept stays the same as you did in O levels, that there are two parts of it. There's the reduction and there's the oxidation, and they are related by four main things. There's oxygen, okay? And if oxygen is given to something, then that is, sorry, ye kya hua? Yeah, that is oxidation, and the thing that gives it is reduced. Similarly, if something gives electrons to something, तो जो चीज जिसको इलेक्ट्रॉन्स मिल रहे हैं वो रिड्यूस हो जाती है, और जिससे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स जा रहे हैं वो ऑक्सीडाइज हो जाती है. Similarly, if the oxidation state goes up, okay, so oxidation state going up, that is oxidation. So oxidation state, या जिसको हम चार्ज भी बोलते हैं, and if it goes down, then that is reduction. So oxidation state. Okay, so that's how this is. And lastly, there's the idea of hydrogen being gained. So something that gets hydrogen is reduced, and something that gives hydrogen is oxidized. But the main idea is that they always happen together. So ऐसा नहीं है कि ऑक्सीजन बस रैंडमली हवा में छोड़ दी जाती है या इलेक्ट्रॉन को जस्ट छोड़ दिया जाता है. They always happen together. So some examples of this might be that, for example, if I take sulfur and I burn it in oxygen, of course you shouldn't do that because it produces sulfur dioxide, unless you use it to bleach wood pulp or some other use. Otherwise, it can cause acid rain. But this is a fairly simple way of looking at oxidation. Sulfur is getting oxygen, oxygen is losing itself and just becoming sulfur dioxide. Similarly, I could get CH4, burn it. This is natural gas burning, and this produces carbon dioxide and water. Balance kar lete hain. So, okay. So again, you have a source of oxygen that's giving this, but it's not always the source of oxygen being oxygen, free oxygen. ये भी होता है कि आपको indirectly oxygen मिल जाती है. So for example, if KClO3 reacts with the sucrose, sugar के साथ reaction कराएं इसका, so this also produces carbon dioxide, water, and KCl. But this time, अब इसको balance करना, KClO3, 24 plus 11. अच्छा 11 तो चलो इधर से आ गया ना, so 24 चाहिए, so that's 8. Okay, so it's balanced. Now here there's an indirect source of oxygen. Directly oxygen नहीं मिल रही है, and that's fine. Oxidation तो अभी भी हो रही है. Similarly, redox reactions, like displacement reaction is redox reaction. For example, यहाँ पे hydrogen being more reactive, hydrogen can displace lead क्योंकि उनकी reactivity बहुत similar होती है एक दूसरे से. So there is a chance कि इस तरह से हो जाएगा. But we use it all the time to extract copper from copper oxide. So Cu plus water, that's clearly there. Similarly, you can have reducing agents like carbon monoxide. If it reacts with, let's say, iron 3 oxide, it can produce pure iron and carbon dioxide. So again, yeah. So pretty straightforward reaction, displacement. Now, a very useful trick to figure out if one thing is a reducing agent or it is a redox reaction or not is that if an element is present, it's definitely redox. So element redox, element redox, element redox hai, element redox hai, एलिमेंट है redox है. हाँ, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि अगर एलिमेंट नहीं है तो redox नहीं है. मतलब यहाँ पे एलिमेंट नहीं है but still redox. एलिमेंट होना is a good way of figuring out कि ये oxidation है या redox है. Similarly, reduction भी तो यही हो रही है. जैसे अभी यहाँ पे हमने देखा, अगर एक चीज ऑक्सीडाइज हो रही है, जैसे यहाँ पे कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड ऑक्सीडाइज हो रही थी, so iron oxide is clearly being reduced. Okay. Now sometimes that reduction doesn't have to be in terms of oxygen. For example, we know that if you take benzene and you add a lot of hydrogen, presence of nickel, and high pressure, then you can get cycloalkane. So this is what? This is reduction. Hydrogen add हो रही है. ठीक है, and that is reduction. So there are two main ways of looking at whether something is oxidized or not. अगर आपको इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को देखना है, ऑक्सीडेशन स्टेट को देखना है, और आप हाइड्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन को हर दफा फिगर आउट नहीं कर सकते, because there are many cases where neither hydrogen nor oxygen is involved, but there's still redox reaction happening. For example, ionic bonding. Let's say we'll take the simple example of sodium reacting with chlorine. This is producing sodium chloride. This is clearly a redox reaction. Kyun? Use the shortcut. There is an element, definitely redox hai. But how do I prove that ye redox hai? So there are two ways of looking at it. First one, you simply look at the changes in oxidation state. So oxidation state अगर मैंने देखना है, so अब मुझे oxidation numbers को assign करना आना चाहिए. Oxidation state को देखते हैं कि oxidation states को कैसे assign करते हैं. So a couple of loosely figured out principles. मतलब इनमें को बहुत ज़्यादा science नहीं है. It's just that first of all, you need to make sure that elements or compounds have overall zero. पहली बात तो ये हो गई. So oxygen है O zero है, O3 ozone है zero है, H2SO4 पूरे का zero होगा. अच्छा, now there are some of them जिसका we can easily figure out from the group number. Group 1 plus 1, group 2 plus 2, group 3 except for boron plus 3. ठीक है? But what about the rest? So we always assign or always start assigning from most electronegative. So for example, अगर आपके पास कोई reaction है और उसमें मेरे पास ये एक compound है जिसमें CF2Cl है, Cl2 है, तो I will always start with the most electronegative, and I know कि fluorine is the most electronegative, so मैं इसको -1 बोलूंगा और फिर मैं उसकी बेस पे बाकियों को फिगर आउट करूंगा. ठीक है? ऑक्सीजन यूजुअली -2 होती है, लेकिन अगर ऑक्सीजन भी है और फ्लोरीन भी है तो यू विल जस्ट से फ्लोरीन -1 है और ऑक्सीजन आप फिगर आउट करोगे. सो यूजुअली द ऑर्डर गोज फंक. ओके, सो यू स्टार्ट इन दैट ऑर्डर. ऑक्सीजन और फ्लोरीन दोनों आ जाएंगी तो फ्लोरीन -1 होगी, ऑक्सीजन का हमें फिगर आउट करना पड़ेगा. लेकिन अगर अकेली ऑक्सीजन है और नाइट्रोजन है तो आप ऑक्सीजन को -2 दे के नाइट्रोजन को फिगर आउट कर लेंगे. So for example, if I give you potassium nitrate. Now in this one, I want you to figure out the oxidation state of each element. So you will first assign it कि अच्छा oxygen is -2 because it's the most electronegative here. And potassium being in group 1 will mostly be +1, most likely +1. And based on this, because the total is 0, ये 1 -6 -5, तो ये +5 है, to cancel it out. सही पता लग गया हमें? ठीक है? So based on this idea that you start assigning from the most electronegative, and the standard values are pretty straightforward. Standard values are -1, -2, -3, and -1 again. But that's not always the case. You always look at what the thing has based on the most electronegative. So for example, if I ask you to do it for, now I want you to do it, let's say P2O5. What is the oxidation state of phosphorus here?
+5.
+5, exactly. Because we'll start with oxide, so that is -2, biggest most electronegative, and then this will be +5. +5 or 5+, they're both the same. Acha, I have, okay, tell me the oxidation state of chlorine here.
+3.
+3. Yes, that's correct. Again, because this is most electronegative, -2 यहाँ पे होगा, ये +1 होगा. And based on that, +1 -4 -3, so +3. Very good. बिल्कुल ठीक है, बिल्कुल ठीक है. So that's how you figure this out. Uh, so let's try for KMNO4. Go on.
+7.
+7, shabash. Again, this is +1, this is -2. So based on this, we know that this one's going to be +7 because 1 minus 8 is -7, usko cancel karne ke liye +7. Okay, I'm giving you an equation. I want you to figure out isme oxidizing agent kaun sa hai. Tell me what's the oxidizing agent here?
Iodide ions
Kyun?
because they're being reduced.
Oxidizing agent, right?
Yeah, I want to figure out the oxidizing agent. So
Achha, achha.
iodide are being oxidized itself. So the first idea should be that you start assigning them these oxidation states. So this is -2, which makes it +4. This is 0.
Sir, in
Yeah,
oxidizing agent, the oxidizing gets reduced, right?
of course.
Achha, so is it Mn, like MnO4? Because MnO,
Yeah, it is MnO2.
sorry, yeah, MnO2 में +6 है Mn, and then on the other side,
No, +4 hai.
yeah,
+4
sorry,
hai.
+4, and on the other side it's Mn +2, so it's like +4 say +2, so it's like reducing, right? So that's the
Very good.
agent.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly how it works. Of course, you can track how this is done because iodide has lost electrons and Mn has gained those 2 electrons. And that's how we know what's happening. Okay, let's try one more. Really easy. Try to figure out the oxidizing agent.
Bromine.
It is bromine.
Bromine. Yes, because it absorbed electrons. It took
It's,
electrons in.
it's pretty straightforward though. It's like
Yeah,
BR
it is.
oxidation state, I think would be 0, right?
Br2, yes, 0.
Yeah, so their side it becomes Br minus, so it's like reducing.
Yes, exactly. Good work, you guys. Now here's the thing. This was the oxidation state method. Sometimes we might have some trouble doing this, or the examiner wants us not to rely on this. So in that case, what we do is we call a half equation method. Half equation method is really useful, especially when you're trying to figure out how the electrons work. So this helps us track electrons. Okay, that is the advantage that we have from this one. So again, let's go back to the example that we had. Sodium plus chlorine makes sodium chloride. Now, to make half equation, what you have to do is you only focus on the things based on one species. So I know that first, this is +1, this is -1. So I'll just focus on what happened to sodium. So sodium changed to sodium ion. And chlorine changed to chloride ion. Now, I have to somehow figure out how that happened. So of course, it happened because of electrons. Now, there are 3 things that you will add to make things happen. You can add protons to balance things out. How do you get protons? Where do you get protons from?
Can you repeat the question?
So let's say when you're balancing them, there are 3 things that you can add. You can add electrons to balance them out. These electrons can come from metals. These electrons can come from reducing agents. Okay. Second thing you can add is protons. To balance any equation, you can add protons. मुझे पता है that electrons are given by metals, electrons are given by reducing agents. What kind of things give protons? Acids. Acids give protons. Okay. So in many balancing equations, we will have to figure out where the protons come in. हमें proton की जरूरत हो सकती है. So that's each positive. In some cases, we might also need to use hydroxide to balance them out, which means whenever you have that, that shows कि reaction alkaline conditions में करना है. अगर आपको प्रोटॉन चाहिए इसका मतलब है ये रिएक्शन एसिडिक कंडीशंस में करना है और अगर आपको सिंपल इलेक्ट्रॉन चाहिए वो तो हम वैसे ही बैलेंस कर लेते हैं. So for example, over here I can see that sodium will change to sodium plus by losing electron, and this has to gain electrons. Now I have to balance it out. So I have 2 chlorides here, okay, but that means I need 2 electrons. So I need 2 electrons, which means I need 2 electrons here. But how do I get 2 electrons there? Because 2 sodium will change to 2 sodium ion, and that will give you 2 electrons. So you track how electrons go from one to another, and that way you can easily balance them out. This is a half equation method. I'll give you a simple example. Try to do this one. Write the 2 half equations, balance them in terms of electrons.
So it will be chlorine, arrow, chloride ions plus 2 electrons.
Good.
And the second one would be 2 iodide ions plus 2 electrons is like then arrow, then iodine.
थोड़ा सा difference है.
What did you do? Why?
Because here's the thing, I have to make sure that the charge is balanced on both sides. इस साइड पे टोटल -2 चार्ज है, तो इस साइड पे भी टोटल -2 चार्ज होना चाहिए, और इस साइड पे टोटल -2 चार्ज है, तो इस साइड पे भी टोटल -2 चार्ज होना चाहिए. Where do I get negative charge from electrons? So अगर इस साइड पे -2 है, तो इस साइड पे -2 कैसे आएगा? By adding 2 electrons.
Got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Let's try one more. I'm not balancing it. You balance it and you make the half equations. Go on.
Okay, you gave a new equation. Okay, I was still doing the old one.
Oh, okay. Try this one now.
I did put it in the chat. Like, is it correct though?
Like, it's not half equation. Your equation is correct, but it's not half equation. Like, I can see the iodide one, that is slightly wrong.
Okay, yeah,
because
yeah.
electrons, we don't say minus electrons, we say add electrons.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so let me just balance this out. 3 here, 2 here, 4 here. Okay, now iron changes to 4 iron, changes to 4 iron ions, 3 oxygen change to 6 oxide ions. Notice that मैंने ions को multiply करके लिखा है, because 3 is not part of the oxide. Of course, there's some cases where that number, like SO4 may, the 4 is part of this, but that's not the case here. Okay, so how's that happening? I have -12 charge on this side. That means I should have -12 charge on this side, which means 12 electrons on this side. I have positive 12 on. All right, moving on.
Sir, I think I still don't get how we are making the half equation. Can you like repeat that?
All right. So you were saying how to make ionic equations, right? Half equations. Can you hear me now, everybody?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So here's what you do. You focus on one species. So for example, iron, what did iron do? So I looked at the charges. This is -2, this is +3. So clearly iron changed to iron ions. Okay, I have 4 iron ions here. I should have 4 iron ions. Now oxygen, I had oxygen molecules. They changed to oxide ion. So I have 3 oxygen molecules here. So I should have 6 oxide ions over here. So I did that. After that, I balanced the charges. How? This is -12. So this must have gained 12 electrons. This is a positive 12. So this must have lost 12 electrons. And that's how I did it. Okay. I'm going to give you another equation. And this equation, I will use protons to balance out. So the equation is simple. We have iodate, which is reacting with zinc, making zinc ions, and iodine, and oxygen is going somewhere. So the question is, this equation is incomplete, balance it out. So here's what I'll do. I will focus on individual species. So I have zinc, which is changing to zinc ions. That's all the information that I have in the question. Similarly, I know that I have iodate ions and they are giving me iodine. But here's the thing. Oxygen is going somewhere. I don't know where, but oxygen nahi hai yahan pe, balance nahi hai. So let me start by seeing what's happening here. Now, the question says this equation is happening in a solution. So because I have water in the solution, water can provide H positive or OH negative. I have oxygen here that must make water. And I have 2 iodides, which means 2 iodates. 6 oxygen, so 6 water. So how many hydrogen do I need to make 6 water? 12. But 12 hydrogen nahi honge, 12 protons honge. Did everybody follow this train of thought? I started by assuming that because I know this reaction is happening in aqueous solution, water can provide me with H positive and OH negative. One of these. Which one do I need here? I already have oxygen, so I probably need H positive to make water. So I added protons. How many protons? I have 6 oxygen, so I need 6 water, 12 protons. Now let's go back to the previous one. How many electrons is this losing? 2 electrons. ठीक है, ये तो बहुत simple सा. How many electrons are we losing here at the bottom? So is this balanced? Like I have 0 charge on this side. Is this charge 0? Is it? Is this charge 0? It's clearly not. Because this is -2. 2 times -1 is -2. And plus 12. -2 plus 12, that is not 0. That is -10. Oh, sorry, plus 10. I have a positive 10 charge here. How do I bring it to 0? What do I need to make a positive 10 0? Okay, how many electrons do I need to make positive 10 0? 10 electrons. So I'll just give it 10 electrons. And now it is overall 0. क्यों? बहुत simple है. 10 minus 10 plus -2 -12. तो ये दोनों -12 है और ये +12 है. Overall 0. Okay. Now I have 10 electrons here, which means I need 10 electrons here. So what do I do? What do I multiply 2 with to get 10? 5. So this will become 5 zinc ions, 10 electrons. And now it is balanced. So my overall equation will be 5 zinc plus 2 iodate in acidic conditions give me 5 zinc ions plus iodine plus 6 water. You have complete liberty to add electrons, protons, or OH minus. All right, I'm going to give you a equation. I want you to balance it. Examiner की बड़ी favorite है वो iron की KMnO4 के साथ. I'm looking for it. Okay, so I have this equation. Okay, let's say I want to balance this equation. First of all, I know that I'll just make half equations here. So MnO4 minus changes to Mn2 plus. Clearly oxygen water बनाएगी. ठीक है. अच्छा, iron 2 changes to iron 3. अच्छा जी. How? By losing electrons. ठीक है. And to get what? To get water, I need hydrogen ions. ठीक है. So I have 4 oxygen, so 4 water banega, which means I need 8 H positive. ठीक है. Is everybody with me here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
No.
Now, another thing I want you to focus on is what is the charge on manganate? This Mn, what's the charge on this? +7, right? And over here it is +2. How do you do that? This has an overall charge +7 changing to +2. How do you suddenly go there? How do you go from +7 to +2? By losing or by gaining 5 electrons? Which one? Gaining or losing? By gaining 5 electrons. So इसका मतलब है this has gained 5 electrons. अब 5 electrons इसने gain किए हैं, तो how do I do this here? Where do I get 5 electrons from? By multiplying everything here by 5. Now let's see, is this balanced overall? 5 electron is -5. -5 -1 +8. That is what? +2 overall. +2 0. It is +2 overall. The equation is balanced. +2 on the left side, +2 on the right side. And this one is +10 +15 -5 +10. It is balanced overall. So my overall equation is going to be manganate plus 8 H positive plus 5 iron makes Mn plus 2 plus 4 water plus 5 iron 3. And it's balanced. All right.